little after 5 a.m. in the morning. Just walking through my greenhouse. Got tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, all kinds of cool stuff going on. This is my dad's farm in Kilmarnock, Virginia. It's been a really fun project to work on this year. The guy who owned it before kind of introduced a lot of permaculture type principles to the land here. A lot of interplanting, different types of trees, hardy varieties, blueberries, blackberries. We put up a greenhouse, learned a lot, tarped a bunch of the ground here. We're not doing any tilling. We just use a lot of mulch. And it's been a fun project to have apple trees. I've been able to make cider this year and pick a bunch of blueberries. It's kind of neat. I'll show you some of the ways that he kind of interplants fig trees with blueberry trees with and then kind of how we're setting it up for produce to grow in between and allow like pollinators and other beneficials into the system. So this was a greenhouse I got from Farmer's Friend. It's a kit that you can easily take up and down. So I think most people that use them put them up every year and take them down every year. Really portable, easy to use. So yeah, this has been our biggest tool this year. I didn't have any money to buy this, so I took out a business credit card and I'm paying it off. And I think a lot of people don't recommend that, but I really highly recommend it if you don't have any other way to get your business started. The interest rate's about double whatever you're going to pay, but you're max out at like $6,000, so you're only going to be like $10,000 in debt. And if you can't make $10,000 on a business, then I really don't think that it's worth doing, personally. But yeah, these are behind me. We have some of the tomatoes that we're growing, and these down here are those tarps that I mentioned earlier. Where we kind of keep things from being weeded, and you can see over here just how bad the weeds are. So that's an area that's not tarped, and any beginning farmer, I'd recommend getting these tarps because as you can see behind me right here, those lettuces are basically no weed pressure and growing great. We've gotten 4, 5, 6 cuts off those, and next to it we're pretty much losing a crop. So if you're starting a farm, go ahead and just get yourself some tarps before you start. You're gonna save a lot of time and ultimately a lot of money, and you're gonna make a lot more money. A lot of what we're doing here is just asking questions and figuring out why things grow the way they do. One of the biggest things I've been wondering is, what does it look like to be a modern day farmer today? Is it possible? Is it profitable? Coming out to Virginia this year and farming here has been quite a different climate than what we're used to farming in San Diego. Having a greenhouse has been quite a change for our farm. It's probably one of the biggest benefits that we have this year. Things just grow quicker, more effectively, less water, more protection from what I found is pest and disease and any type of like mildew or overwatering. It also keeps everything really humid. Any new farmer, I would recommend having some money set aside or finding someone that's willing to give you some. You need like a little bit of land. I would say your key components are some type of greenhouse. If it's a new space that's never been farmed before, you're definitely going to want some type of thick tarp that you can stake down and basically either burn holes into or cut holes into and plug pre-existing plants into the ground. Anything that we've done on this new property where we've started plants from seed in the ground have just been overrun by weeds, and I think that that's something that you would you would really want to think about before starting a farm. It's been one of our biggest challenges, but also, by just saving money and spending money on the tarps, we've really been able to sort of increase our production and just reduce a lot of headache. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but at the same time it works really effectively, and pretty much nothing else works as effectively. Having good tools is another thing that you would want to look into. We have a tilther, which is a tiller, small tiller, powered by a handheld drill that allows us to basically form beds for the first time, and also form beds in between crops rotation, and get crops out of the ground quicker just by kind of tearing it up and putting the crop back into the ground. Also, like putting compost on top and then tilting it into the dirt. That's been a major change in the type of germination that we've been getting. We've been getting a lot better germination because of that. So you definitely want to have some of the right tools to start your farm. You also want to think about where you're going to sell it, who you're going to sell it to, and you want to think about having enough of something to really sell. So farming's quite a bit different from having a backyard garden. Backyard garden, if you're just feeding yourself, there's no consistency at all. So I think planning your farm to be consistent is really important. I think it's really underrated for beginning farmers to be consistent. It's just going to increase your reliability to chefs, and you're going to get called on a lot more if you're consistent with any crop. I would recommend doing microgreens to begin. It's not a glorious crop. It's not like your American dream type of red house on the prairie type of thing, but it definitely is a way to start your business quickly and establish some type of rapport with chefs, especially if there's not a lot in your area. I think it's a really good way to get people interested in what you're doing, and start posting pictures of it or something. Another thing I've really learned is just how interested people are in this way of life and this idea of growing your own food and being healthy, and it seems like there's like a another renaissance happening where people are starting to come back to this idea that's important, and realizing that we can't keep polluting and we can't keep spraying pesticides on the fields forever, and that eventually all the emissions from the cars and airplanes and boats and stuff are gonna cause some type of negative effect, which we're already seeing, an increased rise of like cancers and different types of things like that. But yeah, it's cool to see kind of like consciousness rising in people overall. This has really been a cool opportunity for me to express myself in a new way. I've always had a hard time using the traditional formats to kind of get my point across, and had a hard time being inspired to like do something start to finish. So it's been a great way for me to learn about what my artistic vision is. I would like to call it a living sculpture, one that will continue over the next years, and for me it's not as much of like a commercial farm as it is like a sculpture that people now or eventually would be able to come and experience. And I would want people, even people in New York and across the world, to view it as such, and to be able to talk about it in a way that they would talk about a installation piece or a painting, because that's really like what I'm doing here. It's a little bit more than just your traditional farm, and the reason why I'm doing things is thought out and purposeful. This is Christian at Lindforest Farms. If you like what you see here, share it and let your friends know.